As of today, there are only 22 days left until spring. What a lovely thought that is. The what seemed to be never-ending blanket of snow and ice is finally starting to thaw. Next week, we have temps in the 50s, and I am so excited. It is very welcomed. It has been a very cold, dark, and icy winter here. I've been doing pretty good at keeping us all busy, spirits high, enjoying the slow season, but these last few weeks are always hard. We are stir crazy, craving sunlight and outdoor activities that don't involve snow. The new growth on our trees and blue skies this week were just the thing I needed to get me motivated to start some seeds and plan the 2025 garden.
All right, let's have a little chit chat about the 2025 garden, shall we? So, if you are new here, let me give you a little bit of background. My husband Matt and I, we live in South Central Pennsylvania, so we're in Zone 6B, and we're on a 1/4 acre in town, but we live in the country. So when I get to garden tours, you're going to start to hear the road noise, so be warned. We have pretty much transformed our entire backyard into as much growing space as possible, continually refining it over the years. So my last frost date in the spring is roughly like the 1st to 2nd week of May. It just changes. It's an approximate date. And in October is my first frost, and it's usually about the 2nd week there. We have about 160 days of growing time here. So if you'd like to grow along with me, pay attention to my first and last frost dates. Growing zones really don't matter unless we're talking about perennials for like hardiness zones. So just keep in mind the frost dates, that's what you'd be growing along with. So the garden is going to be a bit different this year. Two things come into play. Number one, with all of my health things going on, I have dietary restrictions and I can't eat most of the things I would normally grow in the garden, which is a huge bummer. And over the years you refine, okay, what does my family actually like to eat, and how much of this do I actually need to grow to feed my family until the next harvest season? What do I need for preserving purposes? So I have that pretty much down pat. With those two things in mind, I'm not growing a whole lot for our family this year. I do have some staple crops, lots of root veggies is what I'm going to be focusing on for us. But I have a nice big garden, a beautiful space to work in, I have the resources, and I have enough time to maintain the garden. So I am still going to be growing all of the things, and I've just decided I'm going to give them away. I want to be a good steward of what I have, and I know so many people are struggling. We have a lot of people in our church that could use help, and I love blessing people. I love giving things away. It brings me so much joy. And I also love knowing that I'm giving them really good food, some organic, homegrown produce. And I couldn't not grow a garden just because I can't eat it or my family doesn't love those things. The garden brings me so much joy, and I didn't want to not do it. So I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna grow all of the things, and I'm gonna just give it away. So I'm gonna share with you the varieties I'm growing in my little garden this year. I am not planning on going into a ton of detail regarding seed starting. I have a video out on that. I'll put it here on the screen and down in the description if you want to check it out. If you need a refresher, or if you are brand new to seed starting, I pretty much covered all the bases, and I also shared troubleshooting advice for any issues that may arise. So definitely go check that out. So as for what I am growing, now if you are looking to grow along with me, I will share when I'll be putting all of these things in the ground for direct planting, or when I'll be starting them inside. So for our family, like I said, that didn't come out very clearly, I'm focusing on root crops. So potatoes, carrots, beets, turnips, those things I'm gonna grow in abundance for us. I can eat those things and my whole family enjoys them and they store pretty well for us. So potatoes are a #1 crop for me. They grow really well here and we eat a ton of them. If you were to look at like an aerial shot of our little valley, it's just all potato farmers. They grow amazing here. So I have quite a few beds devoted to potatoes this coming year. I saved some seed potatoes from my last harvest. So I have some Yukon Gold and some Superior White. I have them just shut up in a cardboard box. They're growing their eyes now. Potatoes I will plant about mid-March directly out into the garden. They are okay before the first frost date passes, as long as they are about 6 to 10 inches below the surface of the soil. They'll be perfectly fine, and then as soon as it warms up, they will shoot up out of the ground and start growing. So I've got those 2 varieties, and I purchased some fun ones this year. I love trying new things, and I haven't splurged on any potatoes in a while. And I've always wanted to grow some fun varieties, so I went ahead and I did that. Now, I purchased these from Wood Prairie Family Farm. If you want to check them out, they're a bit pricey, but they are organic. That's something that I wanted to prioritize, was organic potatoes. So I purchased some fingerling to try. They're not good storage crops at all, but I've tasted them and I love them. So I picked up some Russian banana fingerling potatoes to try. I also picked up some Huckleberry Gold. They are a bright purple skin with this rich creamy yellow center. I've heard they're very good. And I also picked up some Sarpo Mira. They're like a mix of red and yellow on the outside, kind of like swirled and spotted, and then they are a lighter yellow, so probably not as creamy, but I heard great things about them as well. So that is potatoes. Another root veggie, carrots. Let me bring the camera closer and I will show you the varieties. So real quick, if you're wondering where I purchase my seeds from, 4 main places. I order from M.I. Gardner. I love Luke. He's probably one of the first ones I ever started learning gardening from, like 8 or 9 years ago now. Kevin from Epic Gardening, he has Epic Gardening, but he also has Botanical Interest. I have a discount code I can put on the screen and in the description if you're interested. I love Baker Creek, so that's rareseeds.com. They've got some more unique varieties there. It's really fun to look through them. And I also have some from So Right Seeds. They have been great to work with. I have a discount code for them as well. The one other place, or 2 really, I order from Haas Seeds sometimes, and I will order all of my flower seeds from Johnny Select Seeds. They have an amazing variety of flowers, really beautiful variety. So that's where I prioritize flower purchases from. They're a bit pricey, but it's worth it. So for carrots this year, for fun, I'm doing these atomic red carrots, black nebula carrots, and then I have, let's see here, 5 different varieties that I have refined over the years. These are like my storage crop carrots. They grow really well for me here. We have some pretty heavy clay soil, which we've been amending over the years, but it's still pretty heavy. And these have no issue growing really big, nice straight roots. So I've got Imperator, Corral, Tender Sweet, Royal Chantenay, and these Danvers variety grow really well. Beets, I've got these Tioga, Ruby Queen, and my favorite, the Golden Detroit. For the first time, I'm going to be trying these turnips, these purple top. I've heard they're really good mashed like potato would. And I'm just looking for another crop to add in here that I know I can tolerate. I shouldn't have any issues with any of the root veggies. So we're gonna try turnips this year. And then let's move on to peas. Peas are something else I am growing for us. This is well, I guess it's mine and the kids' favorite thing to eat out of the garden. Peas fresh from the garden are like nothing else. They're so sweet, honestly like candy, and I mean, my kids will just sit out there and eat all of them. So I'm gonna grow a whole bunch. I've got these Thomas Laxton, and I think I have two other varieties. I've got these Lincoln. So those are my two shelling varieties. And then, of course, I've got some sugar snap peas too. Oh, goodness, I forgot to mention. Carrots will be started outside, directly sown, probably the second or third week of March. I always put them out before the first frost. They're totally fine. I will do my best to bring you along for all of these things. Peas will also get planted the same time, and so will the beets. They all get planted the second to third week of March, directly outside. Moving on to some leafier greens here. I need to start all of these ASAP, so I'm a little bit behind, honestly. I was having a hard time getting my rear ending gear, but we're doing it now. So today is the 21st of February, and I'm not like really late, but I'm a bit later than I normally would be. So I want to get these things started now so that I can get them out into the greenhouse fairly mature. Every year I get like zero harvest from my spinach plants. I put them out and I think I'm doing it early enough every year when it's still cool, and they bolt and go to seed within 6 days and I get nothing. So I want to get on top of it this year. So I've got a few different varieties of spinach here. I have these Bloomsdale. These are a bit more heat tolerant. I've got these American spinach and some giant noble spinach. We love spinach here, so I'm gonna grow some of this for us, but I also want to grow some of this. I'd love to do like some salad bags to take into church and have some like spinach and some lettuces. I'm gonna grow radicchio and some endive, and I also wanna grow radish. I thought that would just be fun to take in and give some fresh salad kits away. So I've got those, and then let me find, where did I put the lettuce? So for the lettuces, I want to start these fairly soon here as well. These are not frost hardy, so they're definitely going to have to go under row cover or out in the greenhouse and get covered. But I want to put them out soon enough so I actually get a harvest without them bolting. So I've got this endive here. Gonna do some slow bolt arugula. I was trying to choose some varieties that are a bit more heat tolerant. Got another type of endive here, this broad leaf. I thought that was really pretty. Some bronze mignonette. Butter crunch. Super red romaine. I am growing some of these as well for our bunny, Edith, so she has some fresh greens. I have another plain romaine variety for her too. Some slow bolt here. This stuff is beautiful. This Lola Rosa, I love growing this. And some Bruges de Verona, radicchio. There are my lettuces. I've got two different types of radish to include in the little salad bags. I've got these Cherry Belle radish. And these I thought were really beautiful, these watermelon radish. Got some kale that'll be started here in the next week. So I have these blue curled scotch. This is my favorite variety. And I'm also gonna try this dwarf Siberian this year. These I need to start ASAP as well. So like I said, we're in the third week of February. I want these started for sure in the next week. I've got these leeks here. This is the only allium that I am starting from seed this year. I'm not gonna grow as many, or really any onions. I think I'm just gonna do shallots, and I am just gonna order some onion or shallot starts from Dixondale Farms. I have loved purchasing from them in the past. I'm just trying to take some of the stress off of myself. I am really focusing heavily on starting the seeds for things that are expensive, like tomatoes and peppers. Those starts add up super quickly if you purchase them from a greenhouse. So the onion starts are pretty affordable, honestly, so I'm just gonna grab some of them. Celery, I'm starting these this week as well. These take a very long time to grow into anything substantial, so I love celery. My family loves celery. I use it all the time in cooking, so I'm gonna be growing a whole bunch of celery. This is something else I need to start ASAP. cabbage. I like growing, I love growing cabbage. I think it's really beautiful. It's given me trouble in the past with pests. The cabbage worms are pretty ruthless. Some years are better than others, but I have found just covering them immediately as soon as they go in the ground and just staying on top of them. I'm an organic gardener, if you didn't know, so I don't use any chemicals or pesticides. There are a few natural things I would use, but I find just doing that, covering them right away and then planting more than what I need seems to do the trick. And sometimes I'll plant some like trap crops or some really fragrant herbs to try and deter. But anyways, I've got this Savoy cabbage because it's just stunning. It is one of the most beautiful cabbage varieties. And I got this early Jersey Wakefield and this Copenhagen Market. The last veggie that I'm going to be starting soon, probably actually within the next week too. So I have a lot that I'm starting right now, and then I won't have anything else till about mid-March. So that's peppers. Peppers take a long time to grow. So I've got these not jalapeno peppers because we're wimps in this household. So these are jalapenos without the heat. I get these from Baker Creek. This is what I use in my cowboy candy. And I'm also gonna grow Cubanelle. Now, if you follow my channel and you have watched my pantry videos or heard me talk about peppers, I always say I'm dialing back peppers every year because we just don't eat them. And I am dialing them back for us. So the only thing I'm really growing for us is maybe one jalapeno and one or two Ajvarski pepper plants. All the other peppers are just to give away. And then I've just got these California Wonder bell peppers. I might grow another variety of bell peppers too, just to give. The next thing that I would start would be probably the second week of March, somewhere in there, and that is tomatoes. So this year I included some pretty varieties. I regretted not growing more pretty varieties last year because they do just bring me so much joy, and they can all just be turned into sauce. I don't really know why I didn't do it. Tomatoes is one thing I can't eat, which is sad, so I'm at least going to enjoy looking at them. I have these Sart Reloy here from Baker Creek. I thought they were just beautiful. I did have some here just for paste. I do want to stock up on our tomato sauce and other products I use for the rest of my family. So I've got these pink Oxheart. These are my go-to for paste. Also these Opalka. Hungarian Heart is another good one for paste. And I have some Roma here as well. And then just for a basic, like smaller slicing tomato, I have these Ace 55. I have these here, Black Beauty. Pineapple. These, from when I was eating tomatoes, these are incredible. They're so sweet and they're massive tomatoes. This one, when I was eating tomatoes, was my absolute favorite. This Wapsipinicon Peach Tomato. Amazing. They have a slightly fuzzy skin, but so sweet, almost like candy. And then just one tomato cherry variety. These Sun Gold Select. The rest of these varieties here get started either way later or in the garden. These get direct sown in the garden. I'm just doing two varieties of like bush beans this year, green beans. So I've got these Jade bush beans and the Dragon Tongue. These really aren't for us. I still have a whole bunch canned and freeze dried, so these are most likely to just be given away or eaten fresh every once in a while. And then I've got cucumbers. So if you watched my pantry tour, you know I don't need these. We do like to eat them fresh, so I'm gonna just stick to the two plants I always grow, have some for eating fresh. I'm gonna grow some pickling here just in case for some odd reason we deplete our pickle supply, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm just gonna give away whatever we don't eat. Zucchini, I'll probably stick to one or two plants. We all know these get out of hand very quickly. I like them fresh just to, use in baking, sometimes in stir fries or in other dishes, but I always have more than I need, so I'm just going to stick to what I normally grow and just give away all the surplus. Now I'm gonna do a very, very small patch of like pumpkins or squash. They haven't ever really done really well for me in my space, except for the honey nut. The honey nut usually do pretty well. It's a more compact plant, so it doesn't take up a ton of space. And I don't really have a whole lot of vertical growing space this year now that we redid the garden. I could change that, but I don't know if I'm going to. So I don't have a lot of space devoted to growing things like these. So this is the only thing that I am sure I'm going to grow. So again, I'm forgetting to say it. So the cucumbers, the squash, and pumpkin or squash, these all get started like probably the first week in April. They grow pretty quickly, and they won't go out until after the last frost has passed, probably mid-May. So I like to give them about 4 to 6 weeks of growing time indoors. Okay, I think that's just about everything except for one thing, but I don't have the seeds to show you, and that is a loofah gourd. I have been wanting to grow them for the last few years, and I keep forgetting I don't have the seeds. And then by the time I go to purchase the seeds, it's almost too late then to start them because they take forever and an age to get to maturity to where they're actually producing the loofah gourds. I have successfully grown them twice in the last 7 years. Some years have just been the weather being an issue. We had like a freak early frost and they all froze and turned to mush. So my friend Heather's actually coming over tonight. We're doing a game night and she has some loofah seeds, so she is saving the day and bringing them. I am starting them ASAP. They're gonna get big in here in my house like the vine will, but I think I can actually guarantee I will get some of the fruit off of them. The last thing I'm going to share with you today is just some of the annual herbs that I am growing. If you don't see certain herbs in here, it's probably because they're already a perennial in my garden, so I'm just focusing on the things I have to restart every year. Rosemary, for sure, I'm going to be doing a bunch of these. Love rosemary. I'm going to try some slow bolt cilantro again and see if I can get a harvest out of it. Some more chives. Triple curled parsley. A few different types of basil. I have this dwarf Greek basil, some Genovese basil, holy basil or Tulsi, and some piccolino. This stuff is super cute. 4 medicinal herbs this year. So I'm running into the issue of I don't really need to be growing them, although I want to grow all of them because I just like growing all of the things. But if you watched my apothecary video, you saw I just sourced a whole bunch and I really don't need them. I also grew a whole bunch in freeze dried. So there's a few I decided to grow. There's a few I'm undecided on. I might not start them from seed this year. So there is a site, it's called Strictly Medicinal. I don't know if it's Strictly Medicinal Herbs or just strictlymedicinal.com, but they have a huge variety of seeds, but also live plant starts. So if I decide I want to grow any, I might just order some plant starts from them. They're fairly reasonable. The shipping is a bit high, but I mean, that's how it is with most live plant starts. So I might just source from there, but the few that I'm actually growing is to have some chamomile. Of course, I love my chamomile. Passion flower, this was absolutely stunning last year. I started 2 of these from seed and I had them grow up and over a trellis and they just consumed the whole thing. They're a little slow to take off, but when they do, it is just incredible and the bees love them and they smell. They have the sweetest smell. I absolutely love it. And then I have 2 varieties of feverfew, just the good old standard. And then this one doesn't have a picture, but it is a sunny ball feverfew from Johnny's, and it looked beautiful. Feverfew to me is like the quintessential cottage garden flower. There's something about it that's just very quaint and pretty, and I love it. So I'm gonna grow those 2 varieties. I also have some stinging nettle that I'm going to grow. And I don't really need calendula, but I love growing it. It's pretty and it's like the perfect fill-in flower for just like these random spots. And it is medicinal, so there is that, but I really don't need it. I'm just gonna grow this one variety, this Snow Princess. So those are all of the veggie and herb varieties I'm growing this year. Next week, for my Wednesday video, I will be including in that all of the flower varieties I'm growing, and there's a whole bunch of them, and they're really beautiful. These are just gonna be placed all over the garden. I do have my dedicated cottage garden area in the keyhole garden in the back of the property. That has a lot of stuff established in it. I'm probably gonna add some more perennials to that this year, so I don't know, I'm gonna add a whole bunch of like the annual stuff here that I'm growing to it, maybe as needed if there's an empty spot. But I'm just planning on consuming the whole space with flowers. I love them so much, and I really regretted not growing a whole bunch of flower varieties last year. They're just beautiful, and the pollinators love them, and they just bring so much to the garden space. So next week, we'll talk flowers.
Okay, my friend, I will leave you with a little sneak peek at my garden plan, what I am planting where. If you have any questions about anything I talked about today, feel free to ask me down in the comments. I would love to know, what are you most looking forward to this garden season? Is there something new that you're growing, or something that you just can't wait to grow again? A new growing or preserving goal? Let me know down in the comments. And now for some leftover B-roll from last year's garden. I can't wait to take you all back out there with me this year. You have a blessed week, and I will see you next time. Take care.